Namaste and good morning once again, ladies and gentlemen. We've arrived at an important juncture at the TiE Sustainability Summit 2021. It is here at TSS 2021, we'll see ideas and innovation that push the frontiers of possibility and benefit our planet Earth through the vehicle of startups. In this segment, we'll witness the top sustainability startups from the startup state of Telangana present their ambitious ideas to a leader known for a grit and vision in playing a key role in making the state of Telangana a global hub for innovation. Please join me in welcoming Srimati Dr. Shanta Thotam, Chief Innovation Officer, CIO at Government of Telangana. But please allow me to share a little bit more about this wonderful, ambitious woman. Dr. Shanta Thotam has earned her PhD in electrical engineering from New Mexico University, USA. After spending 15 years in the US, she has returned to join T-Hub as a vice president, post which she joined the Government of Telangana as OSD of Textiles and Handicrafts. She is now the first woman Chief Innovation Officer of the state. Namaskaram, madam. Thank you for taking the time out for being here today. And my best wishes to all the startups presenting today. Over to you.
Namaskaram. Very good morning to everyone. We are super delighted to be here, to be part of the TiE Sustainability Summit 2021. So most of you guys know that Telangana state, the 20th and youngest state of India, has been, with the past couple of years, has been, working on creating a very meticulous innovation and startup ecosystem. When we started in 2014, Hyderabad, if we take Hyderabad, we had almost 200 startups to begin with. And when we look back and in the last couple of years, we have few thousands. It's like all humbleness, we have few thousands of startups which got incubated, scaled up, and many of them got raised funds, millions of dollars, and also some of them got acquired. We are in news very constantly, how Telangana startups are faring well in this, not only in India but also in global settings. Even when it comes to the overall Indian startup ecosystem, when we kind of look into different states and the top 10, Telangana is one of the startup ecosystem for its best practices, and we've been recognized as a very progressive and startup friendly state of India. We take the honor of being the bellwether and a role model for various initiatives that Government of Telangana has been rolling out in the startup to foster the startup and innovation ecosystem in Telangana. Government of Telangana, under the able leadership of our Honorable IT Minister KTR sir and our Principal Secretary Jayesh Ranjan Garu, we rolled out, we spearheaded and launched various initiatives, and I'm going to list a few. To begin with, T-Hub, most of you guys might have heard about T-Hub, India's largest incubator, and it's brainchild of our IT Minister KTR sir. It's been a couple of years we are into the ecosystem. It's India's largest incubator. We have the phase 1 has 75,000 square foot of incubation space where we house almost 200 startups. The marquee programs of T-Hub include corporate innovation programs. When I was part of T-Hub, I spearheaded almost 30 plus corporate innovation programs within a couple of years. And I would say that's a large number of accelerated programs what we have spearheaded in very few years. And we do have a playbook modeled incubation program called Lab 32. So again, very much marquee programs, and we take the flagship programs of T-Hub. The phase 2 of T-Hub is also upcoming, and it is 5 times the size of the phase 1. The idea is to kind of in-house 2,000 plus startups at one place and bring that whole ecosystem and enable the ecosystem to grow further. So another initiative, again, into the incubation space is explicitly, it's a state-led incubator for women called V-Hub. Again, kind of focusing on how to kind of, empower women when it comes to entrepreneurship. Very recently, I heard we are even touching the women in tribal areas to kind of understand what kind of problems they are solving in their own settings. For when it comes to incubation centers, we do have a very marquee incubation center for gaming and animation too. It's called Image. Again, most of you guys might have heard about, our Chota Beam, Bahubali, and all these VFX related, initiatives coming out of Telangana, and they are part of this Image program, Image incubator. Having said that, if you take it only the incubators by itself, in Telangana, we have almost 70 plus incubators and, some incubators catering to very niche areas like agri-tech, it could be, or emerging technologies, it could be. If you take the T-Hub, T-Hub is cross-cutting to all the sectors, the horizontals and verticals. So, and when it comes to skilling, again, Government of Telangana launched this initiative called Telangana Academy for Skill and Knowledge. Basically, we wanted to understand the needs of the industry and bridge the gap of what is needed for our student talent force to kind of prepare themselves and be ready for the industry to get employed in the industry. So TASC is doing phenomenal job in that space. To mention further, we have India's largest prototyping center called T-Works. Again, it's a fabulous facility coming up very next to T-Works, T-Hub Phase 2. The idea is if an innovator or if an aspiring entrepreneur wanted to kind of tinker around and prototype something, they don't need to run helter-skelter. They rather come to us at T-Works and they will be hand-holded throughout the journey of prototyping. One of our rural innovators, a school student, she was into making biopods, but again, manually you can only create certain number of biopods. But what we said is why don't we come up with a machine that could, a prototype machine that could automate the manufacturing of biopods, and T-Works helped us with that. So this is all a few examples that what I'm quoting. Very interestingly, we do have an emerging technologies cell wing explicitly for Government of Telangana, where we are continuously assessing emerging technologies that could be applicable to various departments or agencies of government. We have this feature in our startup policy called if a startup, a homegrown startup finds Telangana as the customer and wanted to cater to Government of Telangana, then without any, we kind of break all those conventional norms, the procurement norms, and laterally, we could give these startups an opportunity to cater to Government of Telangana as a customer. So far, in the past couple of years, we started working with few dozens of such startups, and few of them are definitely today, you will hear those pitches, they will talk about their journey with Telangana government. And just to a few initiatives, but at the end of the day, the kind of ecosystem what we have built here, it's only catering for probably tech based startups and some into non-tech too. But very beautifully, we came up with this initiative called Telangana State Innovation Cell, again, to kind of cater into the innovation ecosystem completely. So we have a couple mandates. One of them is how should we build the culture of innovation from school age to kind of continue to nurture that culture of innovation across the 33 districts of Telangana. And also we have very unique mandate of working with government and administration on how to foster the innovation, how to kind of create that mindset when it comes to working with government officials. So in the past couple of years, we have scouted the best startups, again, who would like to work with government and connect them to the government departments. So it's beautifully done. Again, all these initiatives again are launched by Government of Telangana, supported by Government of Telangana. But there is one uniqueness what Government of Telangana believes in. Even our Honorable IT Minister KTR sir and Jayesh Ranjan sir always think of launch the events, get private people like me to get the helm of these initiatives and create the success stories. And we've been as I said, a role model to many other states for building a sustainable innovation and startup ecosystem in Telangana. So again, we work with a lot of partners again, to leverage all the resources. It's not only we are working and we are kind of spreading ourselves thin. We have good stakeholders, like coming from different academic settings to industry to corporates, like to name a few. So having said that, like today, like I have a couple of startups. I would like to invite Roshan from Waste Ventures to come join me and talk about his startup. It's very much interesting to learn about Roshan's journey. We do share some, similarities. He was in US too, and with a passion, he moved back to India to start this, venture. In Telangana, although we focus on, emerging technologies, but we do wanted to kind of look into rural innovation, social innovation, sustainability, and wherever we could kind of innovate. So Roshan, please talk about Waste Ventures.
Thank you, Shanta. I mean, first of all, I think it's important to thank TIE for organizing this. I mean, it's one thing that I've always believed in. I think I'm sure all the startups who are coming next will believe in it, is sustainability needs to be a constant in all the thinking we have, right? It's not been so far. I think it's very critical for us to get there. And these kind of summits and opportunity for startups makes it a big deal for us, kind of be able to come here, express ourselves, and also tell you how important sustainability is and some of the innovations that are happening in this sector. Coming to Waste Ventures, Shanta, this is, we were looking at, where can we make the most impact for us to kind of get into the sustainability space. One of the spaces which we found out was waste management space. There are multiple sections in the waste management space. We have startups coming in from different sections here. We take part in the collection part and some of the management part as well. We believe that if we were to take waste from individual households or communities or even waste pickers for that matter, we should be able to avert around 95% of the waste from getting into the landfill and making sure that only 5% of the reject waste, which otherwise cannot be handled by anybody, gets into the landfill, or even that can be managed too. So if we were to do this, we are almost eliminating the landfills that are present in the country. We have been working with multiple urban local bodies to help them manage their organic waste as well as dry waste and make sure that 95% of that waste is managed. So some of the products we have, some of the services we have include, we have composting solutions so that all the organic waste, which end up being almost 60% of the household waste, right? 60 to 70% of your household waste is organic waste or the kitchen waste. We compost that. It can be on-site composting or it can even be remote composting. We also work with urban local bodies to make that happen. The remaining 35% of the waste is almost the dry waste, which is all the recyclable waste. We make sure every bit of the dry waste is collected, including low-value dry waste, which is usually the one which is festering on the streets, the carry bags, the chips packets, the Maggie packets of the world. We make sure that we collect that, and then we recycle every bit of that, every kg of that waste as well. And then remaining 5% of the waste is only that needs to be managed by our clients. Now, one of the key things that we do also is that we work with waste pickers across Hyderabad. We have a network around 6,000 waste pickers across Hyderabad. What we do is we work with them to collect the waste which they otherwise don't pick up. Waste pickers are the champions who make waste management work in India. Right? I'm sure Pan Nation who's coming here will agree to that. They have a big network of waste pickers too. So that network is absolutely important for us to kind of work with, so that we work with them and see what are they not collecting today, so that to earn the livelihood, right? So that we collect that material and recycle that material. So what happens is that doesn't go to landfill anymore, and plus it earns them additional revenue. So that they're kind of earning more than what they earn. So we have seen that they earn anywhere from 20 to 50% additional revenue by doing this. So those are the initiatives that we have taken up so far. We have now scaled up to Chennai, and now we are in Delhi, and we are scaling up big in these cities, and we are now moving to Kolkata as well. So those are the few initiatives that we're taking up now, and that's what Waste Ventures does.
Oh, that's fabulous. And I have a quick question, like how old is Waste Ventures? And every startup is always after raising funds.
That's right.
Even we are seeing innovators also asking the same thing, we wanted to raise funds and work on the prototype and get into the market. So the quick question on that, did you guys raise funds? Or
so we have we've raised around close to $1 million from all impact investors and also other, for example, Yunus Social Business Fund created by Mohammed Yunus, the Nobel laureate, they have invested in us. There are other foundations like Sorensen Foundation who are all in the US, they have invested in us too. So most of the funds have come from either impact investors or from high net worth individuals who want to kind of invest in the sustainability space. But at the same time, it's very critical for us to kind of make sure, is there money? Are we making money in this sector?
Yes.
Right? Unless this is shown as a business entity, especially the collection models where you work with waste pickers and you're sustainable, it's not exciting for people. They don't want to put in money like a charity. Right? I don't think waste management is in the charity space anymore. And I think we need to move away from that space. This is a true business. And that's where our focus has been for the last 2 years. So we have been profitable in making this work. We have worked with 6,000 waste pickers and we earn them extra revenues and we are profitable ourselves too. So now is the time when we are raising additional capital so that we have a few more millions raised and we scale up to a few more, thousands of waste pickers across different cities. And make that work and also scale up our initiatives here.
That's phenomenal. And I know you lived in the US, and what made you to kind of relocate back to Telangana, and like why get into the sustainability space and that to this waste management?
I joke it as, my midlife crisis, kind of you do well and then you want to see, you're always looking at, are we earning millions for somebody who's earning billions already, or should we be earning 20 rupees for somebody who's earning 100 rupees? Right. For me, the answer was latter. I mean, there are a lot of my good friends who do the farmer. Fantastic. It keeps them happy. Right. So ultimately, this keeps me happy. And that's why I had to move. And one of the reasons why I moved to waste management was because, it gave me a double happiness. You could also work in the sustainability space where you could avoid plastics from the landfills. Which everybody worries about. Second, also you got to work with waste pickers. You could kind of bring in a little change, not a radical change, but a little change. Give them a little bit additional revenue. So both get you have social impact and an environmental impact. Exciting. So that's why
that's good.
Came to
and that's really good to hear. Happiness, finding the calling and kind of chasing it and making it a success.
Absolutely. And I think what we're working towards is making sure that our children and their grandchildren also remain happy, thinking that their parents and grandparents left a world which was fantastic. And I think our generation is more responsible, I think, than any other generation in the world, in the generations before, to make sure that we leave the right earth behind, because we have polluted it the most, and we are still polluting it the most.
Yes,
I think our generation is more responsible.
Yeah, thank you so much, Roshan, and
thank you,
we wish you all the best, and thank you so much for being our Telangana, rockstar startup.
Oh no, thank you. You're being very kind. Thank you very much. Thank you.
So now I would like to invite Marut Drones, Prem from Marut Drones. Okay, so I'll move on and we'll have Prem pitch later. Shruti Rawal from Evoke Studio. This young lady, he's been part of our national Telangana National Handlooms Day, and she's doing phenomenally well in this sustainability space. We thought we should invite her to be part of this session. Thank you, Shruti, for joining us. Please share about your Evoke Studio and what is the thought process behind creating these sustainable garments.
I would like to first say thank you for having us here and appreciating what we've done at the National Handloom Day. Like you mentioned, we were extremely thrilled to have been a part of the event, which was another initiative by the government of Telangana to promote the handloom weavers of Telangana and bring to the forefront what sustainability in the social sector is like we just talked about with waste management. At Evoke, what we're also trying to do is address the environmental sustainability. We're talking about what is the impact of our clothes on the planet. It is often, it takes people by surprise to wonder, what can our clothes have to do with sustainability and, how can they curb climate change? But this is exactly the question that we wanted to address. As I was in my design school and I was studying, I started to come across some facts and figures which were more than surprising for us to, hear of. I was always plagued with eco-anxiety, and as I was in college, I started to understand that some of the most commonly used textiles like cotton, silk, and polyester were some of the most toxic textiles for the planet and for the nature. It is surprising to know it takes about 2,500 liters of water to produce a one cotton t-shirt. These were the numbers that got us working, and this is what we wanted to address at Evoke. We started to find out textiles which helped us provide an alternate to this and provide an eco-friendly alternate. We started working with certified eco-friendly textiles like hemp, Tencel, which is an Austrian certified yarn, fabrics like recycled polyester, which again, like we were just talking, it helps us avert the plastic which ended up in the landfills, pick those plastic bottles up and convert it into a new textile, which is now being known as a recycled polyester. And this also helps us reduce our dependence on virgin polyester materials. So it's textiles like these that we started to pick up, redesign clothes, and also keep in mind that the production was being done responsibly so that our impact on the people and the planet went hand in hand.
Okay, that's great. I know, what you spoke and like how I can relate to your story. But you very recently launched, your Evoke Studio. How is the response from the, the customers? Like, do they understand the value of what you're creating for them, or how is the response?
So Evoke took birth just about 1.5 years ago, and definitely, like you said, there's not enough awareness in people about, like I said, what about our clothes could be harmful for the planet, and what change do we need in our wardrobes. But we realized to make a positive impact, this could be the one shift in behavior that was going to be the most easy for us to do. Shopping is a very natural tendency. All we had to do is just go for a more sustainable alternate. So have a bigger impact with a small shift in lifestyle. It's definitely more communicational with our clients right now. By default, they will go for the design first. If you like a design is when you end up picking something for your wardrobe and something to wear. But second to that, it definitely adds a lot of value and confidence for the wearer and the consumer when they realize that they've had a positive impact with what they're wearing. And when they discover that impact, we know they've always come back to us for more because, they've liked what they've experienced. The fabrics are extremely soft on the skin. So to add to not just the environmental impact, but even for us, they're extremely breathable, delicate fabrics which are soft on the skin. So it has been a complete package, I think, for anybody who's had to experience it once has always come back for more.
That's good. That's good. And when you said this is not another design studio, where you are kind of creating, designer wear ensembles, and you wanted to kind of look into this as a startup and file a patent on the whole process of your sustainable, weaves and everything. Government of Telangana has this state startup portal where we invite, startups or anyone like an innovator also kind of get recognized by Telangana. So I invite you to kind of apply for that and be part of our ecosystem where you could leverage, all kinds of incentives, especially in the IP protection and all those things. And we wish you all the best, Shruti, and thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having us. Thank you.
So now we will move on to Rashi from Banyan Nation. Very interestingly, even Waste Ventures and Banyan Nation was part of our first program at T-Hub. It was with Intel and DST Innovate for Digital India Challenge. So after 4 years, we are back on, onto the, this dialogue. Would like to hear, what you guys have done in the past couple of years. I know from 2016 to now, you're a little older than that too, but wanted to kind of understand what Banyan Nation is about and how you are kind of doing impactful work in the sustainability space.
Thank you so much, Shanta, for having us. And we're a proud Telangana startup first. And we are direct beneficiaries of some of the programs that you mentioned at the beginning of your address. And we we're a part of the inaugural T-Hub cohort as well, and we've benefited a lot from that. The journey has been incredible. I'll just share 4 key milestones that make us really proud today as a Telangana startup. In June 2020, Unilever launched India's first bottles made from 25% recycled plastics using Banyan's plastics. This was a first in India. In October 2020, Reckitt Benckiser launched 100% recycled bottles made from Banyan's plastics for the Dettol brand. That was a very proud moment for us because it was on Gandhi Jayanti. In August of this year, we achieved 150 million bottles made from our recycled plastics across many of Unilever's and Reckitt Benckiser's brands. And just last month in September, Unilever launched Surf Excel bottles made from 50% recycled plastics using our raw material. And they did 3 years ahead of their global sustainability plans. So those are the key updates, as you asked, from the last 2 years. We have established a world-class recycling facility in Pashamailaram, in Telangana. And basically, we have a capacity to recycle 6,000 tons per annum today, and we're soon expanding it to 12,000 tons by next year. The unique thing about the product we make is it is recycled plastic that rivals virgin plastics in quality and performance. It is ethically sourced and responsibly recycled at our facility. And we've been able to do this through 2 key innovations that, again, Telangana state has helped us achieve, right? And the first one is on the supply chain side, where the supply chain for post-consumer plastics is very fragmented in India because it's largely an informal sector. And they do recycling in unscientific ways. And secondly, the technology for recycling itself is a bit dated. It's unscientific. And the way we solved it is through technology. So we created data platforms that integrate and do not displace the thousands of waste workers that work to retrieve those plastics. So with the help of those waste workers, we are retrieving 60 to 70% of our recyclable plastics, but the benefits are not being seen through the achievements that I just said, which should have happened years ago, right? So which is what we changed by integrating them into our platforms. That for the customers, they provide 100% traceability into their supplies, which they value a lot. And to the scrap traders and the kabadiwalas in our network, they provide an opportunity to be a part of a formal product supply chain, lending dignity to a task that they very rightfully provide. So on the recycling technology side, we saw that, we surveyed several global technologies, but none of them fit squarely into the Indian way, post-consumer, product stream, because our waste is different. So our solution should be different. So we spent some time doing R&D and came up with a unique process that removes any and all contaminants from those plastics, such that brands like Unilever and Reckitt can trust those plastics to be used in their bottles. So that's been our journey. We are now, globally certified by various organizations as a responsible producer. We won, several awards, the World Economic Forum Award, as well as the DST award that you mentioned. Yes. And most recently, we are a part of the Technology Pioneers cohort for 2021, which basically helped launch companies like Impossible Foods and like Airbnb and Coursera. So we're extremely excited to be a part of that group and follow in the footsteps of those giants. So thank you to the state of Telangana for all the support that you have offered to companies like us. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It's a pleasure. At the end, we wanted our startups to kind of, succeed, and Telangana, to make Telangana as a go-to destinations for startup is our vision, and we are, working towards it. And so this is very unorganized space where you are, working in. And I know one of your founders, Mani, always used to say, like, working with the kabadiwalas and all that, right? I'm sure there are so many challenges. And directly and indirectly, like, how many people are, like, employing, and what is that impact you are creating? Did you guys do any impact assessment on, like, what is that impact being created by Banyan Nation as a successful startup of Telangana?
Yeah. So it's actually expensive to do a real impact assessment, but what we do is an anecdotal impact assessment. So we do a lot of stories on the way the work that we do impacts people, right? So with we work in a very formal way with a very informal sector. So we give them proper purchase orders and supply contracts, on the back of which they're able to access things like mudra loans to expand their warehouse, to expand and get baling facilities and things like that. And that is financial upward mobility for a lot of these people that they didn't see before formal players like us were in the market. So and they were working in the whole loan sharks market, where they were constantly on a treadmill to return those loans. We work on a fair financial system that itself and we pay higher prices than they usually earn, and that helps uplift the whole system that we work with. So I would say indirectly we work with 3,000 or 4,000 suppliers. Directly we source from at least 200 to 300 per month, and we employ a force of about 200 people at the Pasha Melaram facility in Telangana.
That's amazing. Again, Banyan Nation team, the founders, Raj, Mani, and Rashi, all of them, again, they left their life in US and moved back to Telangana to kind of start this journey, and they've been successful. And we really take pride in Banyan Nation. Thank you so much, Rashi, for sparing your invaluable time to kind of join us today.
Thank you, Shanta.
Thank you. Now I will invite Prem from Marut Drones to join us. So Prem and his team has been doing phenomenally well, tinkering around with drones. And very recently, they launched this first of its kind and first time in India, the medicine from the sky. And it kind of, took really well. And Prem, congratulations once again for that. And please, kind of walk us through the journey of Marut Drones, what you guys do, what kind of projects you guys, engage on, with whom do you work with? Like, that's very important piece, because, I know with whom do you work, but not the audience. I know the major stakeholders you wanted to kind of, focus on.
Thank you, Shanta. The major motive of the Marut Drones was as individual, we go through every day a lot of the societal problems, which we, from when we wake up to when we sleep, we notice them, but every time we think like someone will do it, or someone has a product or a solution, we'll ask them to do it, or we'll wait, we're just like clueless, like who does it. That's where we started with one of the pain problem of we have completed like 75 years of our independence, but we have not got the independence from this malaria, dengue. Like every year we go through it, like we listen, every household or every family does this story of there's a malaria in family or dengue. We started working towards it. Then we observed the problem is not that easy, like that simple, like we talk out. So the problem, like every person like sitting here or who's watching it has created the menace. Like they don't take care of their vicinities or surroundings where there's stagnant water. And metro cities like Hyderabad, Bombay, Delhi, Bangalore, they have water bodies. Like the cities have, every neighborhood has a water body, lake or nala. So they have been contaminated. They have become a good heaven and menace for these mosquitoes to breed and survive. So we started first with the government of Telangana. We started working it. So we could proudly say that we have built the technology working with in Hyderabad. And this technology and solution which we built is not just for Telangana. This is for the West Bengal or Assam, or to the Africa or US also. because it's a tech-based and data-driven kind of activity. So if we say like in last 3 years, we could able to reduce the malaria dengue when city was around more than some 20,000 dengue cases to some 14,000 malaria cases to now presently, if you see, it's like 600 some dengue cases or some 200 malaria cases. So what we did is we manage all these water bodies every day, and we also give them a data-driven kind of insights to the municipalities. So presently we're working with a GHMC as a municipality, and we are scaling to other municipalities in the country. And interestingly, a lot of municipalities from other parts of the country, like tropical countries from Bangladesh or Africa, are trying to reach out to understand how could they do it, because it's become a rich man's problem. Like all the business people, politicians, and everybody are leaving the cities because of this malaria dengue, and they're moving to other part. So then the motive was to solve these societal problems, what we go through it. And when we started doing it, we thought like we no need to just constrain with the municipalities and everything. That's where we started taking up the few more problems. That's where we started understanding on the reforestation, the deforestation, what happens in the country, where the majority people see plantation in the urban places like in cities, or they do it in where districts where people can commute, people stay and everything. But the majority of deforestation happens in the forest areas. And a lot of forest fire happens every year in forest areas, because a lot of people might have known about the California fires, or the Amazon forest has been like in the fire for like months and years. Similarly, it happens in the country also. And everybody is dependent on the fresh air and the oxygen, and that comes from the forest areas. And because the forest area laws are such a strict, they won't allow people to do any plantation. That's where we started observing is how drones can be helpful for them. Then we thought it's not just the technology to be solved. It's a more of a community kind of activity. Like we get these seed balls, we provide them alternate employability. So creating the seed balls, and we identify the deforested areas, use these drones to plant them and monitor them. Because unless there is no data or a technology, I don't think today's day the problem can be solved. You'll be lucky to solve for certain week, month, but eventually stagnation comes. Like that's where the core part is, how can we bring this technology and bring this data or the intelligence to solve the problem was a thought process. In this part, like the September 11th was a remarkable for India itself, not for us, India itself, because first time the BVLOS, it's called Beyond Visual Line of Sight. Drone flies from a point A to point B, where you can't see the drone, can travel for more than 10 kilometers, 20 kilometers, and delivers and comes back. That's what we demonstrated in the Vikarabad, where Central Aviation Minister Jyoti Rajendra Scindia and the Minister IT KT Ramarao Garu has physically visited the Vikarabad, and we flew. The thought is to do a daily transportation from a district hospital to a PHC and collect the blood and the diagnostic samples from PHC to district hospital. So that like the airway is 1/3 of the road network, what we see. So we have been continuously working towards such. So we've been busy in doing it so that like people are aware of now, but there's a backward, like almost 3.5 to 4 years of a journey towards understanding the problem, getting into technology. How could it, like, it's not just one tech solves it. Like there's IoT part, there's like more of analytical parts, and also there's a hardware element to solve it. So it's a continuous kind of a journey, what we have gone through it.
Yeah, phenomenal story, and a lot of effort has been gone into this. I kind of watch Prem and team, like how diligently like they are like behind this mission of like the sheer example of bringing the malaria cases from few thousands to few hundreds. That speaks volumes for us. And for government of Telangana also kind of listening to your pitch and saying like let's work hand in hand and have Yadadri and Bongiri district collector Pamela Satpathy ma'am work with you guys on this initiative of seed balls. So it's phenomenal. People think like when it comes to drones, like you just buy a drone and like kind of deploy it, but I know you guys are doing a little different than buying the drones. Could you please talk a little bit on that?
So basically, like there are only few technologies out there. No technologies which really solve a problem which we go through every day. Like the technologies create a problem more to us. Like they disturb us, they distract us. Like very often people think. And we thought technology should come for a use, and like we are very we advocate for the more of a tech for good or tech for impact kind of a space where we wanted to choose. Then we started looking at like popularly people know drones, they've seen in their marriages, or some politicians might have used it for their campaigns and everything. But not many have aware or known that drone can use for a delivery of a vaccine or a blood, or drone can plant it, or drone can solve some malaria, dengue. So when we started thinking in like back 3-4 years back, when people were thinking is like, this might happen in China, this might happen in somewhere in US. I don't think it will happen in India, because India hardware is there, right? You'll get it from China. Why you want to do it in hardware here? Or their thing is like, by then you think and execute it, there are 100 players going to come into the picture. But we have not seen that. For us, the challenge was still today also, when we are trying to solve a problem, it's a research problem and we are swimming in an ocean. It's still we are yet to reach kind of a thought process. Example, to give you a glance of one is like when we are trying to do this malaria, dengue, there's mosquitoes are around 3,000 species. And that only 3 species of mosquitoes create this menace of like there's Aedes, Culex, and Anopheles. And till today, entire world has never did a surveillance that never tapped a mosquito and detect whether what species it is, or whether it's a male or female. Or if it is a more female in that surroundings, there's a lot of breeding happening. Or if certain kind of, like example, Zika virus, or there are a lot of other diseases names which we're going to listen near future are been transmitted by mosquitoes. So when we started talking to the people, they're saying that everybody knows the mosquitoes which we see with the human eyes, right? So, but there are other mosquitoes called larvae form, which are in the water. So if you have seen a mosquito here, it means that like hundreds of mosquitoes already breeding here in a larvae form. So you will be happy by killing one mosquito and you say like, yeah, I've achieved something. But it's not that. Like within no time, you'll realize that some other mosquitoes come. So it's just still in Hyderabad, I'll think you go to a Kukatpalli, Prakati Nagar kind of area. You can't sit for outside for 5 minutes and have a cup of coffee. It's a luxury to have sitting here outside and having a coffee, interacting with the people and everything. So it's that was the thought process, what we see and everything. And when we started talking to the scientists, like we have a popularly called IICT here, when Nizam, before independence, Nizam built a first malaria lab called Ronald Rose Lab and everything. When Indian government took over, first R&D center in the country is IICT. But when we started talking to them, they give a lot of research papers. They say like this, that, and everything. But people have did a lot of software kind of activity. They did simulations. They can tell what happened in 1940, but nobody tells what happens tomorrow. Nobody tells what happens after 3 months. Nobody tells what happens after 6 months or 1 year. Because the sanitation as a work is done by the municipalities. And all the bureaucrats, all the commissioners change every 6 months to 1 year. A new guy comes till he realizes his tenure is finished. So that's why to give you a context is, if a problem is a left side, they work in the right side. And the mosquitoes breed in the morning of 5 a.m. to 9 a.m. and from 5 p.m. to 10 p.m. and entire works happens from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Now we are expecting them to do a miracles. So that's where we thought for this madness, we need to bring some data and some technology so that they realize what's happening. And the problem is the ground workers, they were getting into water and they were doing this cleaning up of this water hyacinth or the dust what we dump into the Musi every day. And they do the intervention activities. With our effort, now nobody gets into the water. There are 3,000 plus people. We safeguarded them first, not get a lot of contagious diseases. And what they've been doing manually, we do more of with the drones and periodically. Like every 6 days, we again go and do it the same activity, because our observation is, if you spend like money, what you spent on the rockets or what you spent on the coronavirus vaccine, if you start doing from also, you can't eliminate these mosquitoes in next 5 years. You can just control them and do the periodical activities. Then only you'll be able to control this malaria, dengue, because the menace have increased 300% year on year.
That's really incredible, Prem. And, everything you guys are doing is backed by R&D, which is very, very substantial, and we really appreciate it. And, thank you so much for joining us today and sharing your journey at Marut Drones.
One thing I could say is, like, when we started talking about this language, like we want to do it and everything, everybody was like very kind enough, like saying like, I know so-and-so person, I know so-and-so organization. And we were clueless till I don't think we know what actually there's a stream like entomology also. Before we starting it, we thought some health worker is doing it, some health officer is doing it, but there is a like specialized stream called the vector control or this entomology. So in the course of our last 3-4 years, there are a lot of individuals and organizations like RICH, organizations like IIIT, or organizations like T-Works. Look, the innovation ecosystem of like the Telangana have been very instrumental in every stage. And they were very kind enough to understand. If they don't know also, they try to connect us. Now where we are staged is like we have established use cases which are new to India, new to world itself. And now we're in a stage we're trying to scale it up. And like if you guys, anybody who's watching and everything, know something like you could able to do better to a city or better to the place which you are there, please connect us. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Prem, and thank you for working with us, and also empowering our government of Telangana on like using technology for solving the problems. Thank you. Now I would like to invite Kalpana Ramesh, who is into the rainwater project, and it's a phenomenal story. Again, something related to water, and I would like to invite Kalpana to take the stage and share your journey, how this whole thought process begun for you. I know you are a lot into sustainability. Like I keep seeing your posts on social media, like on every detail, how you kind of put your thought process into everything what you do. Please walk us through your journey.
Thank you, Shanta, and I'm really thankful to TIE Sustainability and the Government of Telangana for this opportunity. So my journey also, like you said, after coming back from US, the only thing I was noticing in the city is we're managing tankers more than 5 to 6 months in a year. And I wanted to break this, and it became a strong intent over the years, and where we've managed to make a sustainable home and manage our water. That's the first time I understood that the water resources are many. We often think there isn't enough water, but we have groundwater, we have the tanker water that we are buying, then we have wastewater, then we have rainwater, and on top of that, bottled water. So these are the resources we have at a household level. And how we manage them really, is also an example of how we can manage in the city as well. So I first learned to manage at my house, and we became a tanker-free home, and we were managing our wastewater too. Then took it to the community, and then wanted to work towards a larger approach. That's how the rainwater project was seeded. And initially, I am an architect and an interior designer. So I ran my design studio. I seeded action through my clients and network, and understood the story of water for the city in a very, in a very brief way, that we have traveled for water from 0 to today 200 kilometers away. So we actually import water to the city. And why? Because we are not sustainable. We are not working towards sustainability. And we have to work in a decentralized way and also in a centralized way. Now, how do I solve this problem? While I started ambitiously working on a lake and understood several threads. And that's when I understood how to work with the government, how to work with the communities, and how to work with other NGOs, researchers, and how the ownerships are divided, and how to bring them all on a same platform and start making them think water. And if there is no people involvement in this, it is never going to be a success story. So working on the lake, I also understood the entire strata of society lives around a lake. So with lakes as the fulcrum, I started my working towards this rainwater project in a block-wise model. We broke down the city of Hyderabad into 98 blocks, and each block, we focus on everything that is water, lakes, wells, your common area rainwater harvesting, because as you can see today, we've never been able to break this cycle of tanker buying in summer and going through urban floods in the monsoons. How does one do this? How does it happen in different layers? And so the rainwater project primarily works with a large number of communities. When I say communities and rainwater, it's often taken as residential communities. But today we're working with builders, we're working with hospitals, we're working with corporates, we're working with hotels, we're working with large institutions, including religious institutions and people, because this is also connected to a behavior change. Unless we connect this to a behavior change, we're not going to, make it happen. While the UN is also calling this the Water Action Decade. What is that action on ground, really? I mean, I worry a lot for the future generations. And what are we going to give them? Are we going to give them a sad future? No, not really. We should, and I've built awareness for more than 1 lakh students in the state today and even the city. And I can proudly say that I'm driving 1 million people to put back 1 billion liters into the ground in the next 1 year. That's our goal. And thanks to the government of Telangana, we get support at various levels. But still, I think this block model, this replication that we have done, we've seriously worked on 1 block. We've been able to save more than 30 crore liters water in just that 1 block. Building awareness and getting people to become part of this large level action, and creating a blue Hyderabad is our vision. And this replicable model can be, taken to any other city in the country and maybe to the world as well, because this is literally local action for a global problem. And I wish we get a lot more support from the government, because as part of the block plan, we are also planning pilots for all the water that comes out of the flyovers today. This is clean water that can actually reach the ground. So we're planning to do those kind of pilots, and every, even a bicycle track or even the streets, it should become, our vision is to become a sponge city, and something like Berlin has done. So wish to achieve that block-wise in the city of Hyderabad. This is what we do.
This is amazing, but one question comes to my mind is like, you're an architect and interior designer, and so you have this vision and passion. But how are you funding your passion? Do you have any, investors from the ecosystem who is like kind of fueling your vision, or are you kind of bootstrapping yourself? I know you're working with Government of Telangana, but at the same time, like, you have this vision for next year and also for next 5 years. So what is your plan for that? Because so many innovators, like, whichever the technology they're working on, they're always thinking about like, how should I get funding? Right. So, in sustainability space, you are in, you've been there, and like, how are you kind of like, creating that?
That's a very pertinent question, Shanta. And yes, right now, as a startup, we don't need an investment. We are quite bootstrapped, but the projects that we are doing are pretty large, and that needs investment. So CSR is one thing, but there's been a new learning that I've been able to get schools to restore wells in the range of 30 lakhs, 80 lakhs, even up to 1 crore. And I've realized that CSR does not lie only with the corporates. It's with builders, it's with schools, it's with institutions. So we are trying to set up models of different types of these restorations, and also support from various grants and such. But we like to really ask support from anyone who can help us build technology for this block, because we want to follow a data-driven approach. What is the water that we actually have in a block, and how do we manage this and give this data and make it transparent to communities? So then it's easy to drive action because it's connected to behavior change. So we would like to have, artificial intelligence play a role. We are constantly innovating how to do rainwater harvesting, not just in the conventional methods. We've come up with a lot of innovation, and we've come up with units. For the smallest unit, we've created completely automated gray recycling systems, because recycling is another, thing. If we didn't manage it today, it's going to be creating a bigger disaster tomorrow. So even for recycling, we are coming up with products and services for large projects. We've recently done a project for 150 acres where we've done complete ground truthing and connected it with their land use, because we come from the design front. We understand the land use completely and try to create that water balance and giving them the numbers before even they put buildings on ground. So we have such services also, but definitely to work at the social front and taking this block plan, we need a lot of integrating technology to make it data driven and to create these community platforms. And that's where we will need a lot of investment and help. Right now, we're trying to create models where it's, getting us funds, but we'll need to, soon take a larger path, and hopefully the government also will support us in
certainly. Thank you so much. I wanted to kind of have you ask this, that you are seeking funds, because the project, the vision you're working is like very big, and it will create a huge significant impact in the society. And thank you, Kalpana Garu, for joining us today, and really appreciate your work. The Water Women of Telangana, I would say proudly. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Shanta.
The next startup we have is Coral Innovations. Sekinder, please join us and kind of walk us through your journey of Coral Innovation and what you are doing. And it's been a couple of years, you're working in this space. Yeah.
We made the entire meter reading process simple and digital. So that way we empowered utilities, electricity, water, gas utilities, to get their meter reading done accurately in a minimum span of time. And more importantly, with a minimum carbon footprints. So by leveraging the technology of AI and dynamic workforce, we can do that. At the same time, since electricity, water or gas meter is there with every consumer, so we are enabling a monitoring mechanism which is helping them out to identify their daily usage. As a consumer, if you see, we are aware of our monthly bill. What is our daily usage? Most of us are not aware. See, when we bring in that kind of detailing of your daily average, which has got direct connection with your monthly billing also, that is where, we are targeting them to think about, energy efficient products, how much scope is there for the reduction further. So that way, sustainability aspect is being made part of every consumer. That is where significant impact can be brought to the society. And that is where, once that effective implementation happens, then subsequently we can say, rest of our future is more and more sustainable.
Yeah, I know you deployed some apps to anyone to pick up their cell phone and just do the reading. And you deployed this project in Telangana and other states also. Please walk us through that.
Ma'am, first of all, I would like to thank you, ma'am. In my early days of startup, a small moral support or connecting to the right people has got significant impact. My body is vibrating now. The kind of support I got from you in connecting to Jayesh Ranjan sir has been really phenomenal. As it was a proud moment being a Telangana startup. The people around us, there to help us out. And when there is a right requirement is there, that dots has been connected. Otherwise, it would have been really, a tough task for us. Thank you very much, ma'am. And very happy to be, part of this discussion along with you. I really mean it. And as a Telangana, there are 3 utilities, 2 power discoms and 1 water utility. All of the 3 utilities are our customers today. And we are getting real good support from government of Telangana. And now we are part of Telangana AI mission also. We are effectively using AI technology to disrupt the way meter reading, billing and collection is being done. And one more important thing, ma'am, here we would like to announce, and we would like to work towards that.
as part of 75th years of independence, since we are celebrating, and we would like to proudly claim, I mean, contribute towards building a 75,000 people's a part-time opportunity within this year itself. And we are working towards that goal. And there is a real requirement. There is a desperate requirement for the manpower to have some opportunity. And there's a requirement for consumers to optimize their usage and reduce their bills. And utility also to get the accurate meter reading for the utility. And today, ma'am, another important element which we could bring to the table for the utilities is any meter reading done across the country today using our platform can be ensured whether it is accurate or not before a bill is being generated. That is where we can contribute to the growth of the utilities who are struggling to, manage their monthly operational expenditure. Most of the utilities are loss making today. And the biggest leakage point is their meter reading. That is where we are able to arrest that. And proudly as a Telangana startup, we are going to contribute to the society in a very, very sustainable way, ma'am. Thank you.
So this is really phenomenal, like, you working for government of Telangana and other states, and you are in fact helping them to, generate revenue. And I'm sure like all the states will open up doors for you. Thank you so much, Sikandar. And really
last thing, ma'am, like last time, whatever support now as a Telangana consumer and most of the other discoms also, as a consumer, you can self-generate your bill using Bharat Self-Meter Reading app, which is integrated with the respective utilities app. And which is operational, ma'am. There are very, very happy customers who are, feel very, empowered, and they are bringing in the sustainability by monitoring and all.
That's really good. Really happy to hear that. Thank you so much, Sikandar.
Thank you very much.
Now I'll move on to Sanshodhan. Dr. Shalini Sharma is with us. Okay, moving on. Ito Motors, Rajiv, please join us. We are running a little, out of time. So we'll keep it very crisp. Yeah, please walk us through Ito Motors.
Yeah. First of all, thank you very much, Shanta, and also the rest of the team. India has been a great nation. Of course, it is a great nation. And we are thriving in all aspects. But certain hard facts hit us very bad. These are like this. 14 of the 15 most polluted cities in the world are in India. While the World Health Organization says that the maximum permissible levels of 2.5 particulate matter is around 10 milligrams per cubic meter, Kanpur records 170. Not just that, transport sector alone contributes to 30% for this air pollution. And definitely not to mention about our oil dependency. It is expected to touch $300 billion by 2030. While the world celebrates 2021 as a year of, I would say, sustainability, I think for India, it begins from now. And every year needs to be a year of sustainability. And the government of India has got a great ambitious, I would say, target. And also all the people of us have great, I would say, responsibility to ensure that this country is sustainable, habitable, and I would say a flourishable, I would say, land for our future generations. While I mention this, we also need to understand that the automobile industry as such contributes to more than 7% to the country's GDP right now. And Indian market is the 4th largest market in the world, and it is aspiring to become the 3rd largest in the world very soon. So with all this happening, right, on one hand, we need to reduce the pollution. On the other hand, we cannot let go the leadership role from the, I would say, the automobile. And then the only solution here is the switching to electric mobility revolution. And we are very proud to say that Ito Motors took the lead in taking that good move of, I would say, sustainable mobility forward. And we have been operational. I mean, the team here is very passionate about the sustainable mobility. And we are not just a single player. We are basically an ecosystem, I would say, developer. Let me tell you the results, right? I'll talk about the results and then I'll tell you how we have done it. The results are within probably less than a year of operations from, as of now, close to 1 million packets have been delivered through electric vehicles. If at all you are based out of Hyderabad and you're ordering through Amazon, Big Basket, Flipkart, don't be surprised that one of your packets is delivered through our electric vehicle. And we have saved, we have run close to 2 million kilometers, green kilometers, which is equivalent to saving 2 lakh kgs of carbon dioxide being emitted into these, I would say, thing, and equivalent to planting 4,500 plus trees. That means without literally doing the afforestation, we have created 15 acres of forest within this beautiful city of Hyderabad by curbing the, I would say, the CO2 being emitted. Now, how is it that we are doing all of this? We follow a 3E principle. The 3E principle is very simple. The first E stands for environment. The numbers which I spoke stand for it. And then the second E is very interesting, which stands for empowerment. Now, at this point of time, let me tell you, Shanta, India's first EV zone, which is Kevadia, where Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel's statue is there. We are very proud to say that Eto Motors vehicles, right, the passenger electric vehicles are run at Kevadia, and those are run by the tribal women, right, with least intervention in terms of training, with least equipment knowledge, right, but they're able to run. And we encourage women entrepreneurs, even in the state of Telangana. Thank you very much for the government. We have our first, I would say, women pilot who has owned an electric vehicle, and then she starts running them. And not only in terms of the cargo deliverables and cargo deliveries, we also run our passenger vehicles in almost 20 plus stations in Delhi and Noida put together as we talk at this point of time, and also in Nagpur. Right now, we are operational in Hyderabad, Bangalore, Delhi, Nagpur, and very soon we are also spreading across Pune, Mumbai, Vizag, Vijayawada, and the rest of the cities. So while we always look at our, I would say, the smaller milestones and accomplishments, we are always confronted with this question, the chicken or egg question, right? Is it the vehicles first, or is it the charging infra first? And we do not want to leave any stone unturned, because our team carries the, I would say, experience of installing 25 megawatt of electric charging infrastructure in the country, with 5 megawatt complex charging infrastructure set up at just one, I would say, station in Pune. So with that, we are also now offering the charging infra facilities. We are converting, I would say, housing societies into EV friendly. We are opening up, I mean, at this point of time, we would like to seek your support of how Telangana government and we can come together and convert some of the public places into EV charging places. And while we reflect upon our milestones, we are always reminded of this great statement made by one of the greatest human beings ever lived on the earth. And then the statement goes like this: our work may be a drop in the ocean, but that ocean will be lessened because of that missing drop. And this is made by great late Mother Teresa. So we are very happy to be present here at the TIE Sustainability Summit. And thank you very much for the lot of, I would say Telangana government has created an ecosystem, especially in the sustainability and electric mobility revolution, that anybody who comes with an idea can actually flourish. And from this forum, I would really like to make this call and appeal to different stakeholders who are there, right? If you are, if you need fleet operator services, please reach out to us. We will, as we are running to players like Amazon, Big Basket, we are happy to ferry your products also. If you're looking for passenger mobility, again, reach out to us. We are there. And if you're a technology player who wants to, I would say, try something in the EV ecosystem and you're looking for a testing ground, don't worry. And we are there. And thank you very much. And
thank you, Rajiv.
I think I've made it as crisp as possible. Yeah, open to you, please.
So, a phenomenal job. And, even Mr. Raval said, like, you guys are helping, the government of Telangana in kind of giving inputs on the policy, the EV policy. And we do have a very, dynamic director, who is at the helm of this, the EV sector. You put it very well, and I don't have any questions for you. Thank you so much for joining today. And we'll keep in touch.
Thank you very much, Shanta. Thank you very much.
Rajiv.
Thank you.
And moving on, Dr. Shalini Sharma from Sanshodhan. As we are running out of time, we'll kind of keep this pitch very crisp.
Should I start?
Yes, please.
Thank you, Shanta, for inviting us here. So first, I will take you to a short story. And within 5 minutes, I would like to take you through our journey and where we stand today. So we started somewhere in 2018. When I came back from Oxford around 2014, I thought that the European countries, they are so clean. Their roads are so clean. Their recycling ecosystem is so well managed. Their water is so clean. Why it's happening so there and why it's not happening here in India? So that was the first question, and it was always worrying me. But I was already invited with some of the largest industry associations in India to work along with them. So I was working with CII for quite some time, and I was leading India Greenhouse Gas Program. That was a collaboration of around 48 large industries, conglomerates, and MNCs in India, contributing to around 44% of greenhouse gas emissions in India. So coming out from there in 2018, we were just discussing all this, that how to bring up the waste management ecosystem in the country that is generally contributing to around 14 to 18% of greenhouse gas emissions in India. So coming from the personal story, and the key challenge here, what we researched, and we saw that the citizens, they are unable to have an accessible and convenient infrastructure for channelizing their recyclable resources for recycling and resource recovery. And there is a bigger challenge for the governments also, because they are investing the income tax money into managing the waste that is generated by the public. So ultimately, the public is at the loss from both the ends. At the one side, they are not having the infrastructure to channelize their electronic waste for recycling. And on the other side, they are paying income tax for managing the waste that is being created. So that time in 2018, in collaboration with State Government of Telangana, we launched India's first digital infrastructure for the citizens to channelize their electronic waste directly to the recyclers. So that was with Department of IT and Department of Industries, Government of Telangana, and we served the city for around 2+ years. Slowly we moved ahead, and then we saw that the requirement of the municipalities and the requirement of industries are more than what we were doing. So then we moved ahead and we created a new system that is called as a circular economy model for the electronics and electrical sector. This was not only helping the companies to channelize their electronic waste, but also helping them to meet their extended producer responsibility compliance. After that, industries started looking at what is there in for me further. We came up with a new model and we designed 3 systems. One was a zero waste system for the companies. Second was circular economy model and system for the companies. And third was that companies in India are struggling to report their environment and social and governance impact assessment report. We designed that system and helping the companies for meeting their ESG impact assessment report. And you will be surprised to know that in India, more than 5,000 companies are listed on stock exchange. And there are top 1,000, they are mandated for reporting their environment, social, and governance aspects. And even surprising data that hardly 15 companies are reporting their environment, social, and governance on the stock exchanges. We are in the process of easing out the environment, social, and governance aspects. And this comes from the team that we are having in total around 300+ years of experience. Expertise on the different aspects like carbon, the water, the renewable energy, the policy implementation, EIA impact assessment management plan, e-waste management policy, plastic waste management policy. And I think working with the industry association, that was the best expertise that I could gain in over the years, that we could work on the gamut of the sustainability issues. And today, if anybody says that Adani is sponsoring this event, and if it is Adani Port or if it is Adani Airport, it doesn't matter for us. And if they say that today you come and make us zero waste, today you come and make us circular, we are there to work on single-handedly, and we can handle all the aspects. And I can say this very confidently because, as you know, during this journey, the models that we have developed are awarded and recognized by the World Economic Forum Davos. We are one of them published by World Economic Forum in 2019. After that, we are the winner of Global SDG Challenge Award from Responsible Finance and Investment UK. And they invited us at Abu Dhabi along with DDCAP, we were invited. And moving ahead from this journey, we also recognize the issues that are being faced by the industries to solve the whole gamut of ESG, that is environment, social, and governance aspects. So on 14, you will hear that with the State Government of Telangana, we are launching India's first Circular Electronic Alliance. And
congratulations.
Thank you. And we invite the conglomerates and MNCs to be the part of it. In this, the key thing is that Principal Secretary, Department of IT and Industries will be the speaker. Environment Secretary of UP Government will be the speaker. And there are many industries and industry associations who will be speaking on this. And the whole thing is that we are creating an ecosystem. Government of Telangana has been kind enough and accepted that they will recognize top 5 zero waste companies and top 5 circular companies every year. Yes. So that's a formal recognition from the government of Telangana, and happy to announce here today. And you will see more from us on this aspect.
Thank you so much, Dr. Shalini. You know, I have seen you like at T-Hub, like in a couple of years ago, like how you wanted to kind of make this vision a reality. And kudos to you. Like, you know, you have done it in the past couple of years. Thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you.
And very briefly, I will share that now we are also the part of NASDAQ Entrepreneurial Center, Los Angeles.
I was about to ask the story and like, you know, yes, please walk us through that.
Yeah. So last 1 year, 7 months during COVID, we were a little bit quiet and thinking that, okay, other than the Indian companies, if the companies are working abroad in other countries, how they can see everything at one dashboard. And to make their lives easy, we wanted to bring the social, environmental, and governance impact on one dashboard for them. And this has happened when we were selected at NASDAQ Entrepreneurial Center, Los Angeles, Silicon Valley this year. And our mentors at University of California, and others from NASDAQ itself, and some from Australia. They have made us kind of a metamorphizing journey, I should say. And now we can say that we are the company who is having partners in Europe, US, and Australia, core working on the environment, social, and governance aspects, helping out the conglomerates and MNCs to monitor all the sustainability parameters on one platform.
Thank you. You know. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
For making us proud. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Shalini. Now moving on, I would like to invite Uday from Decal Hardware Softener. Uday, in the interest of time, 3-minute speech, probably. Yeah. Sure. So this is very much interesting. You know, you're not just speaking, but you are like, you know, showing like, you know,
yeah, absolutely,
what your technology is all about. Please.
Good morning to everybody. My name is Uday, and my co-founder is Rajesh. And we have actually innovated a very simple hard water softener. So everyone in Telangana knows that we have hard water problem. In fact, all across India, we have this particular problem. Typical solution is around 40,000-45,000 rupees to soften the water. And some of the big players are like 3M and Kent. So 3 years back, we started this design development. 2018 is when we started. We have developed a product which, with the help of scientists, we are also engineers. And today we have a patent on this particular product. And from 0 crores when we started 3 years back, today we are like 6-7 crore rupees company turnover wise, doing pretty well in the EBITDA side also. And from 2 people company, we are 22 people company. And today we are India's largest seller of hard water softener. This simple device, very easy to use. And just drop it in the overhead water tank and that's it. It doesn't require any electricity. There is 0 water wastage. And absolutely no plumber required, nothing, DIY product. No. And that's the reason why we are selling like hotcakes. We are all over India and we have started exporting to US also.
Oh yeah, US is a big market for you guys. Like most of the states like Arizona, like, you know, you have really brackish water and really hard water.
Absolutely. Yes. And because we save normal device kind of consumes waste around 30% of the water, normal RO water plants save waste around 30% of the water. We have 0 water wastage. We require 0 electricity to run this device. Very, very simple to use it. Just drop it in the overhead water tank. Food grade material use. So these are some of the benefits of the product and features of the product, which really made us #1 seller of this particular product from the time we launched it to today.
This is times 2 years, but at the same time, like 0 waste of water and electricity. You don't need electricity, but how much it costs? Like, you know,
this costs just 4,000. Yeah, this just cost 3,600 rupees. It's like 1/10 of 40,000 rupees. So normal water softeners cost in the market 40,000 rupees. This is like 4,000 rupees.
How long it's going to last?
This will last for a year's time, 0 maintenance.
Okay.
So absolutely no maintenance. You don't have any headache of any maintenance, nothing. Just drop it, forget it kind of thing.
And a year.
And for a year's time. So, and after 1 year's time, just replace it. Just buy another piece. This is 0 maintenance. There's nothing to repair in this. So people love it for the ease of maintenance, and it's very demonstrable. You can see a demo at your home. You can see the difference in the water. We give a free demo kit anywhere, everywhere in India. So nice. Our demo kit is actually a walking soldier. He goes to the house. We send it by post. So we send demo kits to people by post to home. They can anywhere, whether it's Bihar or Madhya Pradesh or Chennai. They get a demo kit at home by post office, and they can do the demo. They can see the difference in the water. So we really don't have big salespeople in our team also. Okay, so it's self-explanatory product. And thanks to the Telangana Innovation Cell, we started 3 years back. Pranay has been walking us through many seminars like this. We got Sustainability Award from Coca-Cola India, I think that was just before COVID, right? And they gave it primarily because, we're not wasting water. We're not using electricity. So that was the two killer things that they probably saw in our product. And that's the reason we really love being in Telangana. A lot of support from even your organization, KTR, and a lot of support from everywhere. I think I really appreciate. Happy to be in Telangana. We started our pilot in Telangana, and we are now across India, and we are obviously started exporting to US. So I'm very happy to be a part of this TSIS support system, support organization, part of Telangana. And thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Uday. I really appreciate it.
Welcome. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
I wish you all the best. You kind of, roll out this product throughout the globe and make us proud.
Yeah. Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you.
Next, I'll invite Shrikant Reddy from Hala Mobility. Is it Hala or Hala?
Hala.
Hala.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
It means wow or let's go.
Okay.
Hello, everyone. I'm Shrikant from Hala Mobility. Hala Mobility is a multimodal electric mobility platform wherein we provide rides, rentals, taxi service, delivery, sales of electric scooters, and we provide a network of charging stations across the city. So our journey started in November with around 2 scooters of pilot, and today we are standing strong at 285.
November of which year?
2020.
2020.
Yeah. So we all started with 5 major problems that we have seen. Intracity commute has become more costlier. There's less and, very less last mile connectivity. The EV penetration rate is less than 1%. And, accessibility to these vehicles is harder for normal person. Also, small and medium scale enterprises are paying a lot of commissions to the aggregators. Then we started this last mile deliveries to the businesses and rentals to the customers, wherein a delivery partner today is able to save at least 60% of his money towards this combustion vehicles. And, enterprises are saving almost 40% of their OPEX on delivery charges. With 285 vehicles, we have run around 1 million kilometers. We have saved around 24 tons of CO2 emissions. And to what extent, what we can bring the impact, not just about, going on EVs or, having environmental friendly rides. Other than zero carbon footprint, we also wanted to have people ratio. We have almost 100 delivery partners, wherein, 90% of them today are men and 10 people are female driver partners. We're also encouraging more and more driver partners to come on board, female driver partners, so that we can provide some kind of employment that we can do. All the tech stack that we're doing, it's in-house made, taken from the IoTs, hardware, the software applications. And we are currently available in 4 cities. And down the lane, we would like to deploy, 10,000 scooters in another 18 months.
Yeah, it's a big market, and I'm sure we have really good players kind of starting up in this space and making Telangana visible in the EV space. Thank you so much. And anything else you wanted to share with our any ask you have for our audience?
If any enterprise who is watching this, if they're willing to get EVs on rentals or leasing out from us, we have a whole bundle of application. You can, it's not just the scooter that we are renting it out. It's more of AI and ML and, enabled IoT hardware that is sitting inside the scooter that gives you a lot of insights about where the scooter is, how the driver is working, what the problem is, so that you can take a preemptive measure and the reactive maintenance steps. So if anyone is looking for any sort of solutions, please do reach out to us. We are very much happy to serve you.
Great, Shrikant. And do ensure you get 50% of women to be your drivers, because women are really safe drivers.
100% agreed.
Thank you. Thank you so much for joining us today. Now I'll move on to Architude, startup Architude. Vijay Durga is with us. please join us and briefly, like, probably like in 90 seconds elevator pitch for our audience.
So Arkitude is a sustainable construction company, and we basically aggregate latest technology.
It's working. Yeah. Some technical issue. Yes, it's working.
Arkitude is a sustainable construction company. We basically aggregate all the latest technology and create digital models and to make the sustainable construction services more affordable, accessible, and easy to maintain to all. So sustainability is a way to fight climate change and global warming for sure, but we identified that it is very difficult for people to access these services. So we leverage latest technology and we built virtual models which work like the real buildings. And we can ascertain the efficiency, cost efficiency, the time taken for the construction and the sustainability aspect, and also the maintenance of the building for its entire lifetime using this particular process. So we were keen about working with the government since the beginning of Arkitude, but luckily, we wanted to do it after we proven this private sector. But luckily, we could get that opportunity through VHub, Government of Telangana's another initiative. We could get connected to Nirmal District Collector Musharraf Sir and WCD, Women and Child Development Department, Divya Ma'am, and we could do some pilots in the districts of Nirmal and Adilabad using the similar technology. So what we did was we have used this modular concept for constructing the buildings which needs to be repeated in every other district and every other village. So the module comes around for around 8 lakhs. It's 600 SFT and sorry. Yes. Yeah, it's the area is around 600 SFT, and the best feature is the quick turnaround time. That is what is attracting or making it a best solution for a public building. We could finish the entire project in 1 month. So we have done various modules, and there are several projects, around 10 projects in pipeline that we are going to execute in the next few months.
Yeah, that's really awesome. When Vijaya came and met us yesterday, I said, you should reach out for larger community builders too. So we'll be happy to kind of connect you to the TRADA,
sure.
TRADA, and then help you pitch there and get more connections. Thank you so much for joining us. Anything else you have asked for the audience?
No, actually, I want to thank TIE for this beautiful initiative and T-Hub for recognizing us as a good contributor for the sustainability and giving us
Telangana State Innovation Cell.
Then, yeah, of course. So giving us this opportunity to especially pitch along with many big startups. I'm slightly intimidated. You can identify. Yeah, but I'm really happy to be part of this.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Vijay Durga. I really appreciate your time and all the best. So we are done with 11 startups, the pitches of 11 startups. And you might have seen this. Say that again. Picture, all of them are here. Okay, yes. So as I said in the beginning, that the Government of Telangana, as part of our startup policy, that we encourage startups to work with Government of Telangana. If a startup, a homegrown startup, would like to seek Government of Telangana as a customer, we are openly embracing them and giving them opportunities. You might have already listened from some of these startups, like how Government of Telangana is backing and helping them to kind of scale up further. This is from Government of Telangana, and we have phenomenal 11 startups which are working in a sustainability space to come join us and pitch their startup ideas and how their journey has been and how Government of Telangana is helping them to scale up. Now I would like to invite all our startups which pitch to join me for a real quick picture.